to welcome everybody to today's edition of the Travel Insider here at Mexico News Network. My name is Sofia Rattinger and joining me is financial analyst Elliot Bullman. Elliot, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning. And welcome everybody to today's edition. Before we start, remember to follow us on all our social networks, Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and follow us daily on our website, mexiconewsnetwork.com, for relevant stories and news. Let's go to the information.
Did you know, Elliot, that more than 1.2 billion people across 5 continents were lucky enough to travel in 2015 according to the World Organization of Tourism? And in Mexico alone were 1 million tourists whom enjoyed the utopian country during 2015 and drove it to a big economic uplift.
That's really impressive, Sophia, but I know many of our viewers wonder, how do countries benefit when they have a significant entry of tourists? And as previously mentioned, besides a great financial impact, it also brings a humanitarian benefit. It allows us as tourists to open up to other cultural diversities, historical and gastronomical approaches wherever we go.
Of course, I mean, you can even say that traveling is kind of a peace catalyst, according to a study done by the Institute of Economy and Peace, which suggests a positive correlation between doing tours or activities and general safety. The study shows that the more a tourist appreciates and gets involved with a specific destination, the overall safety increases. Tours and activities also promote values like empathy, solidarity, and general sense of respect for the culture.
Besides, it's also important to remember that national tourism is an essential element to develop the economy, and thanks to the national movement Viajemos Todos por México, or Let's All Travel Across Mexico, driven jointly by Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto and the Ministry of Tourism within the private and social sectors. They require support in the development of all travel destinations in Mexico, enabling more cities to grow their businesses focused on alluring tourists, their underutilized infrastructure, and to improve occupation during low seasons.
In short, tourism has an integrating social function, meaning it basically breaks with stereotypes, eradicates prejudices, and brings society together. The main focus of maintaining investment in tourism now has a greater relevance.
We must support Mexico's economy and the development of certain structures to create a closer bond with the rest of the world by showcasing the beauty of Mexico to other countries. Wouldn't you agree, Sofia?
Yes, I totally agree. Yes, and besides, tourism is working for Mexico in more ways than you think. Let's say that you're planning a cruise to Mexico this summer, Cancun perhaps, or Tulum. But tourism has been criticized for exploding developing countries, with most of the profits occurring to multinational corporations rather than local businesses. But tourism has far-reaching impacts that benefit both the local economies that play host to visitors as well as the economy overall.
And that's the conclusion of a rigorous new study from 2 researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. They looked at the holistic impact of touristic destinations along the Mexican coastline and found that both international and domestic tourism has added 4.4% to the average Mexican household's real income. The news is even better for the immediate areas where tourists stay. In those cities, an extra 10% in tourism spending leads to a 2.8% boost in employment.
And that's not just from people working in hotels and restaurants. It also comes from a spillover effect onto local manufacturing, which ramps up to produce goods that the tourism industry consumes and is strengthened by the service industry like banking and consulting that gravitate to tourist activity.
Perhaps for that reason then, Mexico has come to increasingly rely on tourism, which supplied 14.8% of gross domestic product in 2014, according to the World Tourism and Trade Council. And tourism exports have grown by an average of 11% per year over the past few decades in developing countries, far outpacing agriculture and often surpassing manufacturing itself.
And in the end, we have to admit that Mexico is a great place to visit because it has so much to offer, especially for those travelers who are looking to experience new things. And if you are planning your summer vacations, I would definitely recommend you to visit Quintana Roo and Yucatan, where you will be able to experience really great things.
Yes, for example, I recommend you start with the wonderful gourmet inclusive experience, which can only be found in the Riviera Maya, followed by the spectacular scenery that this attraction offers. Can you imagine immersing yourself in the waters of a Mayan cenote? Have you dived into the depths of the Caribbean Sea? Or have you swum with an imposing 20-foot whale shark?
They are gentle giants and it's once in a lifetime experience, so I highly recommend you to try it. Or have you ever visited a bioluminescent beach? Have you ever felt so magically overwhelmed with so much history simply by setting foot on an archaeological site, knowing that where you're standing, a magnificent civilization once stood? Well, if you haven't, the Yucatan Peninsula is a place for you because it will offer you a wide range of activities that probably very few have done.
I know, this place is truly amazing. For those of you that love discovering unexplored places, I recommend you venture deep into the Mayan jungle, into places that have been only roughly explored. Uncover the natural, cultural and gastronomic treasures of a region of the Yucatan Peninsula, known as the Maya Zone. Tour these towns where tradition still reigns, where most of the people only speak their indigenous languages, use ancestral agriculture methods and cooking techniques, and do their best to guard the legacy of their ancestors.
In the state of Quintana Roo, there are a good many communities with deep-rooted traditions. These communities are made up of real Mayan descendants, many of whom are willing to share their way of life with visitors, the way they live, work, and play. All of this thanks to the creation of the concept Maya Kaan, which has intention of fostering tourism as well as the cultural and social development of the region.
This eco-touristic project broadens options for tourists visiting the state based on the sustainable use of resources and the strengthening and preservation of the World Heritage Biosphere Reserve of Sian Ka'an. At the same time, it's intended to promote community development by boosting sustainable production projects such as crafts, medicinal products, preserved food preparation, amongst others.
And just as we mentioned before, this way of traveling not only brings economic benefit to these somewhat isolated communities, but it provides an enriching cultural and memorable experience for anyone who decides to venture into depths in the Maya jungle. And it is an unforgettable adventure that you will want to tell everyone about. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Sofia Rattinger and
I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on all our social networks and on our website, mexiconewsnetwork.com, for more updates about Mexico and the world. Until next time.
Have a great day.